profile. Okay, here we go. I'm going to quote. All right, okay, I just tagged you.
Okay, cool.
You see it?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Sure.
I'm going to share my screen, play my theme song. Vibes rolling. Let's go. Oh, shit. Yeah. Here we go.
We're riding. Hype happy hour, talking about life, so you might feel empowered. Hype happy hour, tornado on the mic with a guest giving flowers. Hype happy hour, tools, interviews, provide life tapping power. Hype happy hour, positive and light with advice, build your tower. Happiness is key, so you gotta bring the smiles out. Inspiration needs a bit of passion to just wild out. Positivity and optimism when we ride out. Enthusiasm and dreams, gotta feed them till your time's out.
Let's go. Hyped Happy Hour. I am Gentle Tornado, your host. We are back for another banger episode 22. I created a company called Hyped. It is an acronym that stands for happiness, inspiration, positivity, enthusiasm, and dreams. If you look on the bottom left, our logo has a heartbeat in the middle because we never know how many heartbeats we have. So here at Hyped, we live every single day to the best of our ability, doing the best we can. And I'm on a journey to make positivity louder and to bring noise around the words within Hyped. And I also am going to bridge the gap between Web3, personal relationships all together. So I'm riding today on an absolute, I'm so humbled to have this guest. I followed him since day one I got into the space. This man is truly he's so humble, hardworking, smart as fuck, fucking awesome. Benjamin, how are you?
Hey, I'm good, GT. Thanks for having me, man. It's good to be here and really love to see what you've done, and your passion and your consistency in the space has really been inspiring. And when we first met in person at the Nifty Portal party, you asked me to come on your podcast, and I told you that I would, as long as I see you, grinding and working, and have a few episodes under your belt, before we started going. But I'm a man of my word and happy to come on with you, bro, and really enjoy seeing what you've been doing in the space. I love the energy that you bring.
I really appreciate that, man. So we started off with what we're grateful for. So what are you grateful for today?
I'm grateful for my family, man. I just had a baby boy, my first kid, and my wife is recovering. So, I've just been trying to do whatever I can to make sure that I make their lives easier and focus on their health before mine and stuff. So that's what I'm grateful for, on top of the food chain there. But yeah, family is number one for me right now, man. For sure.
Let's go, dude. So I was literally so excited. So for everybody listening, we had scheduled this before he was going to have the baby, and I'm way more excited to have this after he's had the baby. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, how has that been over the last week and a half? What was the delivery? Like, I mean, not the delivery, but like, how was that experience for you guys?
Yeah, man. Well, I've had a lot going on. I just moved into a new house as well, like a week or two before that. And so we had the baby due for October 5th, but we set everything up to be prepared if it came, 2 or 3 weeks early, just because it's like, that's what kind of has always happened in our family. So fortunately, we moved into the house, we got the rooms and, the cribs and the bassinets and all that fun stuff set up. And so when the baby came, we were more prepared than, we would have been if we didn't move into that house right away. So it really worked out. And then being in the hospital, we were there for over 24 hours just from her being in labor. And we ended up having to stay a total of, I think, 4 days or so. So it was a very tiring but humbling experience. And, I brought a human to life, which is pretty crazy.
What was that? So this is super exciting, man. Because like when you hold your baby for the first time, like you just tell me about how you felt. How did you feel?
It like I felt an immense amount of like warmth and love, but also very confusing because I created this human being. It's not like I have dogs, but we you go and adopt the dogs and you bring them home from wherever you get them, or you breed them or whatever. But this was from me and from my wife, and to be able to see some of my own characteristics in him, which is pretty wild. Like he definitely has my nose, which is like just crazy to see. Like my DNA is in this other human being, which is awesome.
That is awesome, man. I think like, did you feel a sense of relief at all? Like after, just like that the process of being pregnant was over, like that whole, now you have the baby. Now it's time to tackle that.
I felt relief from my wife, to be honest. Like she was having trouble sleeping and doing things, and she has a really great work ethic. So she was troubled not being able to do as much as she wants to. Like she weirdly enough loves doing laundry. It's like cathartic for her. So more power to her. I love the fact that she loves it, but like she wasn't able to walk down up and down the stairs to do it, and just little things like that. So not even the fact that I had to step up extra, which I'm more than capable and enjoy doing, but it's the fact that like she was a lot more limited. And so she's still going through some recovery right now, but that's where most of my relief came from, to be able to see that she was able to feel better about herself.
That's dope, dude. That's dope. My wife also loves doing laundry, so that's funny that you said that because I had the same experience where my wife wanted to do more while she was pregnant, but she just couldn't. So that's awesome. So we get straight into it, and I asked the guest to give me like a 2 to 5. I mean, it doesn't really matter the time, but like an origin story of who you are, like where you came, like how was your childhood, kind of into what did you do before Web3, and then how you got into Web3.
Sure, sure. So I grew up in New York, Long Island. I still live here. I've also lived in Florida and Orlando and Miami. So I've been around a little bit, but nothing too crazy. But growing up, I spent a lot of time playing sports. I was really heavy into sports. I used to make music, stuff like that. So I had a little bit of creativity going through me, but I love to write, and I like to write like poems and music and stuff like that. Um, but professionally, I worked in the restaurant industry for a long time, like doing everything from bussing tables all the way up to managing restaurants. And I did that for like a decade or so. And um, I've always like done things on the side and tried to be involved in something that's new and upcoming before people find out about it. So that led me to doing a few different things. One being I used to run a daily fantasy sports company when it first started coming out. And the way that I got involved in that is I was bartending at a restaurant, and a friend was telling me about it, and we used to watch all the games and stuff. So I found FanDuel and played a baseball tournament, put like $25 down, and ended up winning. I think it was anywhere from like 7 to 10K or something like that. So I was like pretty instantly hooked within the first couple weeks, and that got me to looking up data and researching and trying to find trends. And I would take in data from all over the internet and put them together into this one sheet, and make projections and rankings and stuff like that. I put them out for free on Twitter, and people started loving it and making so much money with it that they actually asked us to start charging for it. So myself and a buddy of mine, CG, ended up turning that into a company that we ran for 4 years. And during that time, I also went back to school to do computer programming and web development. And I was also running one of the first 3D printing college clubs in the country, which we got like funding from New York State and the school and stuff. And I had my own lab in the school, which was really cool. But so I ended up selling my company, the daily fantasy sports company called Daily Roto Sharks. Ended up moving on from the college club because I was graduating, and I got recruited to work at a military manufacturing facility called Curtis Wright. And so there I got into contracts and program management, and I was working with nuclear actuators that we sold to the Navy, aircraft carriers, power plants, all stuff like that. And then after that, it was about maybe 2 years ago, I started getting back into working on websites and operations and things like that. which eventually led me back into NFTs. And so my experience there, I started in 2017 with CryptoKitties. And once Top Shot came around and started really getting a lot of momentum, I refound my love and passion for the digital collectibles, which at the time I didn't really know what they were with the CryptoKitties. So I ended up really doing well in Top Shot, and then moving on to things like Zedron, and found Bored Apes and all that stuff, and started just trading full time. By last April, I was going full time in Web3, and then started doing like advising and reviews for projects and stuff like that. And now this is pretty much what I do. I vibe out. I work with NFT projects, and just always looking for the next thing.
Dude, that is wild, man. That's a sick backstory. Like, you've done so much, and I think like the one thing I'll take away is that you're always hungry. You're just always like wanting to do more and just level up. And fuck, man, I can't believe you created that company and sold it, and then you were working with the like, that is wild, dude. That is sick. I mean, yeah, to be honest, since day, like I said, like since day one, I've been following you. Got in, you've been giving out tools and advice for free, and it's been badass to just like watch. Like Dizzy Dragons was one of the, I think I told you when we met, like one of the, I think it was the second project I bought.
Oh wow, nice.
And just like, yeah, just watching that evolve, and you like give that away, and like now it makes so much sense that you've been doing so much stuff like this for just in general. So that's sick, man. I love it. Like, fuck, that's crazy. So what has been like, has Web3 been your favorite thing that you think you've ever done in your life?
Yeah, I would say outside of sports, probably. Like I love playing football, basketball. I was really good at track. So that to me was, not glory days necessarily, but like I still play flag football. I still play softball. Like I love playing sports. So just generally, I would say that, most of my energy in my life has been spent in that arena. Wish I was a little taller, wish I was a little stronger, but either way, I just enjoy playing. I love the competition, the team camaraderie and stuff like that. But professionally, yeah, I would say Web3, NFTs, it's just been so different, so lucrative, and so freeing that, yeah, it's hard not to love it. And I'm sure people may have a different experience who, joined later than I did, and maybe didn't have the same same growth or financial luck, maybe, because timing is definitely a big part of luck. But yeah, I just love being a part of it. I've made so many connections, and I would say from everything that I've done, this has been not just the most fulfilling and rewarding, but the most beneficial and lucrative to my professional career.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think like what you said about the luck thing is, but you've been doing the work, like when you said 2017 and you said the crypto kitties, like, you kind of put yourself in this position, and obviously there is some luck to buying a Bored Ape or minting a Bored Ape or something. I'm not sure if you did. I'm just saying like in general, like early, and then like it all coming to fruition, and like you being a part of that journey. I think like you did put in the work, and there is a little bit of luck, but like you put yourself in those situations. So that's kind of sick to hear that backstory. Like I had never known about any of that stuff. So that's really dope. I'm pumped, man. This is gonna be a banger. So we go into every word within hyped. And so we start with happiness. And so I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to read you my favorite definition of success.
Okay.
There we go. Okay. So
I like how you have the branding already. You got the hat going. I love it. Thanks. Those are my colors too. They're red, black, and white.
Let's go, dude. I'll send you a shirt. I'm going to send you a shirt. All right. Ralph Waldo Emerson. What is success? To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate the beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition, to know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. So, yeah, have you ever heard that before?
Yeah, I've read some of that, not in the full quote, but yeah, Ralph Waldo Emerson's is a dope character for sure. He's
so. What do you think? How do you feel when you hear that?
I feel like it resonates with me for sure. some of it I feel like I've had to force onto myself. I haven't always had the best emotional intelligence or even empathy in general, just because kind of the way I grew up, and having to be very independent and fend for myself in a lot of ways. I wouldn't say I was selfish in any way, but definitely not as empathetic as I am now and wish I was. And obviously a lot of that comes with maturity, but it's hard to be happy externally if you're not happy internally, right? Like some people show a false sense of confidence and stuff like that, but I pretty much wear my heart on my sleeve. And I've it's gotten me in trouble for sure, like because
Yeah.
I'm very opinionated and not everybody agrees with it. But that part of what really resonates with me in that quote was the false friends falling off, right? Because now that I'm gotten a lot of visibility through NFTs and Web3, even further than I had in the past. You start to get a lot of requests that come. People literally ask me for money and stuff like that. And so what I've really had to do is learn how to say no, which is something that's always been kind of difficult for me. So being able to work on myself over the last year or whatever has really helped me focus on a lot of that that which was in that quote that I start to resonate with more and more as I get older and more mature.
No, I mean, I love that. I think like what you just said was a super self-aware thing to say. And like, I'm like, I think the reason I gravitated to you is because, I knew right away that you're true, like you're your true self. And, when you give hot takes or your opinion, that's what I vibe with, being your true self. And just like you said, like you can't help anybody. You can't be the best unless you're the best inside. And so truly working on that and, being able to say no is a huge thing. And like, the empathy side is kind of cool that like you're on this journey, because now that having a kid, that's going to just get even more, like you're just going to get more empathy for other people. You're going to have more empathy for your kid, for your wife. Like you're just going to grow. And it's a full-time journey. So I absolutely love that.
Thanks, man. Sorry, I'm just sharing the link one more time.
No worries. No worries.
All right, cool. Yeah. I mean, it's being self-aware is not something that's easy, and the reason I've been able to increase my awareness is because I've done things that I regret and said things that I wish I didn't. And being opinionated is great, but I would say I was too abrasive in the way that I would approach things. I think some of it is partially because I smoke so much weed that I'm always kind of in like a little bit of a fog and a haze. So you don't always think before you speak as much as I probably would like to. So yeah, I would say my abrasive approach in the past, even though like I'm being myself, I've had to develop a little bit more of a filter and put some kid gloves on the way that I say things, just trying to take some time to evaluate on what kind of energy am I giving out when I'm saying something. So I try not to be that negative. I grew up really following a lot of politics, and so politics is inherently negative, whatever side you're on. So
Yeah.
distancing myself from that and detaching from following so many negative stories all the time has really helped me to become a more positive person in general. And I just like that side of myself better. And so, yeah, sometimes I may, find that negative energy coming out, but I do my best to try and repel those thoughts.
No, man, I love it. I think like you're just going to keep growing and like to get better and to become more positive. You just got to work. It's like you just got to keep working at it. And because the truth and the reality is that there's so much negative stuff, just like you said, like in politics, for example, in the news. Like if you watch the news, like I can't even watch the news because it's pure negativity. There's nothing positive. And so I don't want to be surrounded by that. So I stopped watching it. And it's just like, if they just shared one positive thing, I think that could impact so many people. And they could just highlight something good. And so that's why I'm on a mission with this podcast and to make positivity louder, man. I'm just like, it's just like you said, life is so much better when it's positive and you're upbeat, or you're not looking towards the negative stuff. So that was cool to hear you say that, man. And it's hard for everybody. It's hard for me sometimes, man. Like my in real life job is very negative. I have very negative customers, so I'm just battling that every day, which
Mhm.
I'm grateful for, because it's shown me to even be more positive, to show positivity to those people when they are just down. And so I've had to push even harder. So to hear you say that was great. So the first question under happiness is, what makes you happy every day?
Now it's my kid, man. Like waking up every morning and just looking in his eyes and just hanging out with him. It's like that love is unreal. And I have dogs and I love them with all my heart, but it's just a different kind of feeling. And parents told me that, like, you're gonna feel this way, and I was like, all right, can't wait. But until it happens, like, it's hard to put into words. So I would say that, my wife, of course, as well, but having a baby in my arms, that it's just a different kind of love, and it's made me reevaluate even how I prioritize my time, which is amazing. So yeah, my family again, is really top of my list.
Dude, that's awesome, man. That's so cool to hear. I feel the same way. And yeah, the reevaluating your time thing for me was big. Like, I don't like, dude, they're everything to me. My kids are everything. Like, if I'm on, like, I'm tweeting back to somebody and my son comes up to me and he's like asking me a question, boom, phone down. What do you need? Fully on him.
Hmm.
It's like, yeah, it's nothing else. So like the fact that you said that was just so awesome. I was so fired up to have this after you had your kid, because I knew like there were going to be those types of emotions. So just like you said, man, people tell you and you'll never know until it happens.
Hmm.
And just like my middle son is he's just 2. He just turned 2 and he doesn't sleep very well. So he wakes up in the middle of the night and I go up there and I lay with him until he goes back to sleep. And at first I used to get so angry because I need my 6 hours of sleep. And I
Right.
shifted that to just love every moment of it, because like he needs me in that moment. And it's like just been such a good experience, even at 3 a.m. You know what I mean? Putting him back to bed. So
Yeah.
yeah, dad life's no joke. And so I love that you're on that journey. So the next question is, what is the happiest moment of your life? I'm sure is going to be having your baby. Um, can you give me another one? Or if that's not, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I basically have to default to that as an answer, of
Yeah.
course. Um, there's been some other times, obviously. I would say that my engagement with my wife was actually more special to us than the wedding was. And so at that time, so when we got engaged, both of her sisters were pregnant, and I believe my sister might have been. So like almost all of our family ended up being there, and we don't really have much of a big family. People came in from like out of state and stuff, but I really set it up in a way that was like almost movie-esque romantic. Complete surprise. We held it at this really nice restaurant in New York City, and she walked in, and our song was playing, and all our friends and family are on this staircase, lined up all on each side all the way up, with rose petals all over the floor, with me standing at the top, and it was just really, really special. And so COVID came, and we had to actually cancel our wedding that we had planned to do in Dominican Republic. So we ended up doing like a really small wedding and like a basic town hall with 5 or 6 people there or whatever. And it was great. It's great that it happened, but we weren't able to have that full experience that we wanted. So the engagement itself kind of, stood in for that. And it was a really special moment.
That's awesome, man. Well, that's what a good story. Was she just totally shocked, or did she know about it? Or
Totally shocked. So friends, family, everyone um, kept it a secret. And so she actually had, she's a dance teacher and a dancer. So she actually had like a workshop going on in the city that day. So I planned it around that, where she'd be in the city and her family would take her out to like a dinner afterwards, like not realizing. So she was dressed up. So we had the whole plan going. And when she showed up, it was funny because we recorded it all. We have it on video, and you see her walk in, and she's like, "Wow, my song's playing." And didn't see the 30 people standing like in front of her to the right and just walked right by them. And everyone's like watching her walk by. We're like, wait, come back. So yeah, it was a really funny time. And she was certainly surprised. And it was a really special moment.
Dude, that's freaking awesome, man. That is so awesome. Wow, that's great. That's why I love doing this podcast, man, because you get stories like that are just truly magical. Just brings so much happiness. The last question under happiness is what are some communities that you're a part of in Web3 that you really enjoy, or you're really like, I don't know about bullish on, just like makes you happy being a part of them?
Well, I would say I've definitely been in a bunch of different communities just from the nature of NFT projects, and I'm in hundreds of different projects. But I would say that throughout my time, it's hard for me to really focus on a bunch of different things at a time. Like I can multitask, but when it comes to like checking different discords and going into different communities, like it's difficult to do that. So I would say generally the Bored Ape community, that's been a really powerful thing for me. We have group chats and side chats and all that kind of stuff that I'm in, and a lot of different connections have been made from there. But I would say the main community that I'm a part of now is Nifty Portal. Nick and Pio are good friends of mine. I've hung out with them in real life and stuff. But before I ever, joined with them in terms of like helping do content and being on their show and stuff like that, we were just friends. And like I did an interview with Nick, and I would hang out with them at different events and stuff like that. And just watching them grind and seeing what they did in the community they built, I just kept an eye on it, and I started joining the spaces more and joining the Discord more. And now that's really where I call my home base. So I would say if you're not in the Nifty Portal, you should definitely consider joining, because it's something that, I think a lot of people get a lot of value from.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So real quick, like on the Bored Ape, did you like from a very early point start like finding relationships, and even when like, maybe the floor price was 1 to 2 ETH or something very early, were you finding friends and creating those group chats, or was it more down the line?
Well, yeah. So at that time, a lot of us spent time in Clubhouse before Twitter Spaces was a thing. So we would be on Clubhouses talking about NBA Top Shot, Zed Run, one of one art or music or whatever came up at the time. And so when the Bored Apes launched, we kind of congregated together in these Clubhouse spaces, and then Twitter Spaces, Clubhouse rooms, and then Twitter Spaces when they joined. So it was pretty easy to be able to form these connections. And before there was 100,000 people in the space, whatever, there was this group of the more hardcore collectors or traders in the space kind of navigated or migrated towards this project. So very early on, yeah, we were not just in group chats, but we were talking and on voice chats and all that kind of stuff, and then doing meetups in real life. Like the very first meetup that I was a part of, it may have even been one of the first, or if not the first, Bored Ape meetups. I was there with Josh Ong, Jenkins the Valet, Drew Austin, NFTs Anonymous, and like just kind of bringing this all together with really early on was a way that we saw the community being able to develop, and watching everybody throughout the community have like meetups in London or Miami or wherever, Singapore, where people were just having these big group events. It was really something to be a part of, and a community that was not just your standard like social media community, but people had a lot in common, and the financial aspect of it incentivized people to, not just promote it and talk about it, but to develop their own things, to have side projects and do all kinds of stuff. Like I have, Bored Ape hoodie. I have all this different kind of shit that we would have done, a bong with my ape.
Yeah,
like
it's
all
sick.
These different things, and we would have, people would make third-party companies and projects just based on
That's dope.
just
That's
based on
dope.
like apes and like cool cats and all this different
Yeah.
kind of stuff that like it gave a different kind of outlet for creativity for people who were just collectors at that point, to be able to say, hey, I can do something with this. I can make some money off this. I could like Nifty Slabs and NFT engravers and Bored Apes and all these different companies that were doing things with the IP was really something different that I had been a part of. So it was such a different community than I'd ever been used to. And I'm not trying to say that those never existed. It's just I was never a part of anything like that, especially that was financially motivated outside of maybe being a part of stocks and crypto groups and stuff, which was a little bit, which I would say a little bit more soulless when you're just trading coins as opposed to pictures that you can identify with and use as your own brand and things like that. So yeah, it was really something to be a part of, and it's the reason I've never sold my first ape that I minted, and I just really don't plan to.
Is that the one that's on your sweatshirt?
Yeah.
How many apes do you still have?
I have 2 apes left, 3 mutants, and I think 6 or 7 dogs.
Okay, that's dope. So
and like 10 other side lands, something like that.
Okay, all right. What do you have? I don't know. This just came to me, but like another. I know you're really bit. You really like the Gutter Cat Gang. You're really bullish on them. Do you have like one other PFP that you just fucking love? Like one PFP besides your Bored Ape that you just like resonate with, that you really fuck with?
Yeah, so I don't really change around a lot to other projects, but I would say there's probably 3 projects recently that I used PFPs of for more than like a day or so. I would say one was Wrecked Guy by OSF. Big fan of OSF. That's a buddy of mine. He's just great in the space. I really like Degen Tunes. I bought one of those. I like the vibe that it came with. It was kind of, what's the right word for it? I don't know. Either way, it was something that I vibed with. I liked the style that they had. There was a joint in the mouth, so I used that. And then also Chimpers by Timpers and Insight. That's one that I used for a little bit too. And I have so many different ones that I've used and that I still have in my accounts and stuff like that. But I would say those are the most recent ones I've used for like more than a day, which is longer than I usually will keep a PFP up that isn't my apes.
That's dope. Do you cycle between your 2 apes a lot?
I don't really cycle between my 2 apes a lot because I do have a secondary account where I post like NFT news, and I have my other ape on there. And then I like to cycle through like mutants and stuff like that because I have a few of those. So like I have 5 apes and mutants that I just kind of cycle between, but I usually just keep my my Johnny Altcoin ape, this one right here, as the PFP.
Such a gangster, dude. You're the first NFT NYC. You kind of dressed up like it, right?
Yeah. So it was Halloween at that time. So yeah, I had the hat on. I made the jacket. I actually ordered an Evil Knievel jacket that I got rugged on. Just never came. Just literally never came. Like I paid for it and everything, and I was waiting for it. It was like a $120 jacket or something like that that's never came. So I just took a white collar tee and just drew on it and just drew in marker. And it was so ghetto, but it got me a lot of attention, which I mean, I didn't necessarily want extra attention. I was just dressing up, but the fact that like I hand drew it myself and was inhaling a lot of markers by doing so was pretty funny. So yeah, I dressed up as my ape for Halloween last year.
That's fucking awesome, dude. That is so awesome. The fucking great story. What a great story. Got rugged on the fucking jacket. Man, that is cool. Fuck yeah. I like all those. Degen Tunes art's sick. That's dope that at a joint. Are there apes with anything, smoking anything? Is that in any of the apes? Do they have that?
Yeah, they have cigarettes and like red eyes. Like they have the bloodshot eyes, but they don't have like a blunt or anything like that, which would be dope. But I mean, I get it. I understand that. I mean, even personally, me, like I don't like the fact that there are cigarettes. I'm just not a cigarette smoker. I think it's more damaging to a brand than anything. But I could also see how having like weed stuff would also be like that.
Yeah, for sure. What are the number one apes in the ape collection, the gold ones?
I mean, when you talk about rarities, there's just like combinations of things that end up being the most rare. Like um, Preps to the Pros has a number one most rare, and he has I'm pretty sure it's the DMT skin with the dagger mouth and a couple of other traits. But yeah, on a purely trait aesthetic level, gold is pretty much top notch.
Yeah. Fuck. Did you when you first got into it really quick? I just want to see if hear about this. But like when you first got into apes, did you have more? Like how tell me about that story? Like how you got it? Did you mint them? What was that like?
Yeah, so at that time, everybody was, well, not everybody, but a lot of people would kind of move from group to group to doing different projects. So from Top Shot to Zed Run, and there was communities built around that. And so a lot of my friends who were in these communities were talking about apes, and so one night, May it was like it was April, the night going into May 1st. So April 31st, I think, going into May 1st. And and at that time I was really heavily loaded into Zed Run. I still have a bag of those. And so most of my liquidity was in that because they had just recently had a drop, and I bought up a bunch of them, and it was great. I was still able to flip them, but at the time I was like, oh shit, like this mint is happening. Like I need some liquidity. So I minted this one that night, number 721, and I was anticipating like, okay, this has kind of been around for a few days now, and it's only up to 700s. So I'll just wake up in the morning and try to sell some horses and buy more of these apes and mint more of them. And I woke up the next morning and they were just all gone. Like I think Pranksy bought 100 something or 1,000 overnight. Jimmy bought a couple hundred or something like that. And then everyone just loaded in and they were gone. So like I wasn't awake while this was happening, and then I woke up and they were just gone. So um, I still didn't have a lot of liquidity. So what I ended up doing is trading 3 Zed horses for 2 bored apes at the time. And so I ended up with 3, and then I sold some more horses and bought some more apes. And I think the max I had at any time was 8. And then over the course of time, I just started selling them, for a couple ETH, 4 ETH, 12 ETH, and then eventually after I think my 12 ETH sale, I didn't sell another one until 80 something. So
Holy shit.
yeah, because I was like, I made a bunch of profit already. I'm riding these for free, and I love them, and I love what they do, and so I held them until the first sale I made was 250K. It was like 80 ETH at like 3 something ETH,
Holy
and then
shit.
the next one I I still regret selling it. I sold it around like 110K or something. This was after everything started nuking and ETH was getting crushed and apes were, down 60% or whatever it is. And I was buying a house with my wife at the time. So I was like, you know what, like this, if there's ever a time that I want to do it, like I would be more with myself I if I didn't sell and crashed than if I did sell and they went back up, which is what happened.
Yeah.
So it was a very calculated decision. I wish I had sold both of those apes when they were both 250K, but it is what it is, and you got to move on. And so it was a decision that I made for in real life and family, and I still have 2, so it's not like I dumped the whole bag. So I made a good amount of money from that, and it was very freeing. I was able to really decide. I was already full time in the space, but I was able to decide what I wanted to do with not just my time, but where I lived. And we had a baby coming on the way. We had 2 dogs, and we were living in a smaller house, so we needed to upgrade. So I did it for those reasons, and I regret it in the sense that even though the price is really almost the same now as it was when I sold, but it's the fact that like that was an ape that I used for a long time. Like for instance, I have him here on this bong, and I don't
Oh
know if you
yeah.
can see it, but it's a
Yeah.
bloodshot eyes and a tuxedo T-shirt, and
Yeah.
that was one of the ones that I actually traded. Um, that was one of the ones I traded a horse for. And so I did have a connection to that one specifically. And when I sold it, it was sad to see it go. So it was more about the connection that I had to it, and which is really what made me not sell them all the way on the way up, because you really do develop these connections to it. And one of the things I wish I did was trade them a little bit more. I kind of just like sat on them diamond hands. I could have like traded, upgraded, got different ones and things like that, like Franklin does, which I love and envy. But I got a little complacent for sure when I started getting into hundreds of different projects, and I was like, where do you spend your time?
Yeah, no, I love it, dude. Listen, I have to ask you about your story about ApeCoin, because I remember literally when you posted how much ApeCoin you were getting, I told my wife, I was like, this guy I follow, he's getting this amount of money. Like, walk me through what that was like. Like, what the fuck did you feel getting this airdrop that was wild? And yeah, just tell the people that maybe may not know.
Sure. Well, the thing is, at that time, I almost became numb to money, and in a weird way that I wish I was able to kind of reflect more on that. But when you're getting dropped free money, like we got ENS token and Bottle token and SOS and all these different tokens that were just getting free money dropped to us, that like each time it happens, it was like more money than my wife was making in a salary. So it came almost, I'm not going to say entitled, but I overlooked how important it was to lock in as many gains as I did have. So when ApeCoin came, instead of me kind of just dumping it all and saying like, I'm just going to take this money and walk away, I was attached to the idea of not dumping the coin, just because I'm a part of the community. I don't want to tank anything. People watch my wallets and stuff like that, but also at the same time, I needed to be able to pull some off the table. So initially what I did is my price target was around, I think, $4 to $8 initially. And it launched and settled in around $6 to $8, and then goes up to 10 and then 12. And I was like, all right, I need to take some off the table. So I sold some around like $15, and then it went up to 20, 25. And I sold a little bit more at 20. And when it got to 25, I said, you know what, this might go to 50. So I actually bought a little bit more back in. And then on the way back down, I was like, all right, let me just be a little bit more rational. So I took a little bit of a loss on that buy. But yeah, it was definitely life-changing money. It was great. I was able to take the raw total and put about half of it away. And then the rest of it, I just kind of rode back down to what the price target was in this $4 to $8 range, which is still where it's sitting. So I've been accumulating a little bit more leading up to staking, but it was a kind of a unicorn event, a once in a lifetime event, I think. And so I was able to take advantage of it in a way that I can look back on and be proud of. But obviously everybody, wants to make the perfect moves, buy at the low, sell at the top. But, you got to just make your decisions in real time with as much information as you have available. And that's what I did. And, I've really been lucky and blessed to put myself in these positions that I have been in and try to take advantage of it in a way that I can be proud of looking back on. But also I try not to tie myself to the all-time highs of my account, because that's just, a recipe for emotional disaster.
100%, man. It's I love that. I love the story. I think it's tough a lot of times because you do get this emotional connection, and that's why like I've been so close to Easy, because he's like beyond profit maxing. I actually don't even know how he does it. I envy him, look up to him. I mean, obviously he lost that $500,000 in 2018, so I get it why he's a profit maxi. But sometimes you do, like, even if you stick to your trading styles, it's like fuck. It's at $25. Like, I want to go to 30, but you can't be mad at yourself for taking profit, because you never,
Right.
like, it could have crashed, right? Same with that ape. Like, you bought it to buy the house for your family. Like that's 100x more important than, selling it for the top, and
Exactly.
so I think that's fucking dope story. That's a dope story. So let's get into inspiration. Just got to give you your flowers, dude. You inspire me. You've inspired me since I got into the space to be better, to learn more. I think it's dope that you really do your best to educate people. And at the same time, you have your opinion, which I truly value, because I think a lot of people are scared to be themselves. And so that's why I said earlier I've gravitated to you. So I just want to throw your flowers. Say to start off inspiration with, we got one life. We got one fucking life. We're out here. We got to live it to the best of our abilities. Now you have a son. Like, fuck, dude, it's going to get wild. I'm so excited for you. And just embrace that. So the first question under inspiration is, what is one lesson in your life that you had to learn the hard way?
Had to learn the hard way, I guess, would be that abrasiveness that I had, and it was because of just not making excuses, but the way that I grew up emotionally. I was just emotionally immature, and so I had to learn the hard way in that I was very vocal in my opinions in a way that was abrasive to people and not entirely empathetic. So I had to learn the hard way in that, I received a lot of, I don't know what the negative energy, I would say, because I was putting out negative energy into the universe and I was getting a lot of negative energy back. So like my feed was just full of like arguments, people fighting and me joining in and being a part of that. And so, being able to move past that, I think was a great lesson for me, in that if people are fighting, I let them do their thing. If people are arguing, I let them argue. And I join in and I'll give my opinions, but in a way that takes other people's emotions into account. And I'm not perfect. I don't do it the right way every time, but I've tried to be a lot more thoughtful in the way that I approach things. And it took having a lot of negativity in my life to see that it was something that I just didn't want to be surrounded with. And so I would say right before NFTs really is when I started distancing myself from that in a way that I can just have more positivity, which is obviously the next one, but more positivity in my life. And so I had to learn to be more empathetic in general, just because I wasn't seeing a lot of empathy around me.
That's awesome, man. No, that's like crazy. Like that, honestly, that you've had that growth and incredible. Like, I really appreciate you sharing that. So that's badass that you're growing. What inspires you about Web3 to want to do it every single day?
The people. Obviously, there's technology involved and there's futurism involved and speculation, but I would say the people inspire me. So, someone like Zeneca 33 inspired me from the jump. I did an interview with him, and his work ethic is just super inspiring. And watching him, it makes me want to grind harder. Maybe not to the level that he does, because I've already been through my own kind of burnout, and I could advise Zeneca that he probably will experience it if he already hasn't. But he's very inspirational to me. But also people like yourself, people like Thread Guy and Minister and these smaller accounts that grow, but because they put in the time, they put in the work, and for different reasons, right? Like Zeneca is a big content beast. Like NFT God, I love NFT God, very inspiring content beast. And then you have people like the shit posters that they inspire in a different way. Like they inspire me to show up every day, not necessarily to do the exact same things that they're doing, but watching other people grind in a way that I respect is probably one of the more inspiring things in the space.
No, that's, dude, you just nailed it right on the head. Like that is the best thing. I think the best thing about Web3 is that, right, just like you said, is it inspiring? The other people are inspiring, but like the grind is enjoyable. And so like falling in love with that process is like, watching Shillen do his spaces, watching Thread Guy, watching Minister, those meme guys, watching the Sappy Seals meme. Like they're showing up every single day and they're loving it. And it makes me love my journey even more. So that's what I think is really fucking cool. Like we're all here, I think, on equal playing fields, like just trying to better all of our lives.
Well, just to touch on that real quick. So I do agree with you, but one of the things in this space that is really prominent that people either don't realize or forget about is survivorship bias. So the people who are left are the people who are, still active, but there were a lot of people last year and before that who were super active that maybe lost money or lost passion, so that they were here and they were grinding and working, but through whatever fortune or lack thereof ended up falling off or taking time off. And so what we see now through this bear market are the people who either survived or came on at a time when, they could just focus on building. And so there's rip to the people who were here and are not anymore. But yeah, it's great to see that there are people carrying the torch into 2023.
Yeah, no, I agree. Do you think, I think it's naive to say that people are not still here for money, but I think aside from that, um, I think just generally people are here because they want to get better. They want to see almost like the world grow and get better or something. I don't know how to put it into words, but do you know what I'm saying? Yes, people are here financially. I think a lot of people are here to really grow something, get their life better or level up. How do you feel about that?
There's definitely a mix, but the financial incentivization is something that keeps people around. There's a lot of speculation and gambling and degen activity that people love, but also in order to be as active as I am or most people want to be, you have to not just be incentivized, excuse me, but also have the financial position to be able to be around. And maybe you have a job that you work at that is not that strict, and you can be on spaces and be posting all day and all that kind of stuff. But I think you can't rule out the financial incentivization, especially when this developed through crypto, which is very heavily number go up base, and then NFTs people have made a lot of money from. So people hear, oh, you made X, Y, and Z dollars and stuff. Like, I want to do that too. Show me how. And it's just not that easy. And so people I think still look for that, financial gain, even, even in the face of the technology and stuff like that, because not everybody cares about that, understandably. Not everybody cares about art, understandably. But at the same time, you need to be incentivized to stick around. And some people are incentivized by engagement and followers and building their brand, but others are just strictly financial. And there's what's really cool is there's a lot of different strategies. Like, there's people like Dingaling who just don't ever sell. They just collect and just sell, never sell. Sorry. And then there's people like Franklin who he just trades his own apes to other people and back to himself. And it's just awesome to watch the different strategies and stuff like that. So I think financial incentivization will always be in this space for the most part, especially when you talk about provenance and, being the first and holding things that are rare and valuable. That's always going to be here. But at the same time, people join the space in a lot of ways to see what the future of this will bring.
Yeah, no, that was great, dude. That was great. What do you have someone in your life that is like an inspirational leader or someone that you've looked up to throughout your life?
Yeah, I would say that one of my best friends, his name's Donald, and he was like a brother to me through like middle school and high school, and we've remained very close friends. And he's been always like the person who's like an older brother to me that I never had. And so yeah, he just watching the way that he moved and his work ethic and his approach towards social matters was definitely something I looked up to.
That's dope. Is he in the space?
Yeah, kind of. I got him involved early in the Koala Intelligence Agency project, and so I had like 30 of them or something like that, and I gave him 5, or like he bought a few from me, and I gave him a few, and one of them ended up being like a top 10 rarity or something like that, and I told him like sell it, sell it for 10 ETH, 15 ETH, whatever you can get. Like at this time, Koala Agency KIA went over like 1 ETH floor. So I was like, sell it, get your money's worth. And he's like, well, everyone's telling me in the chat that this is 1,000 ETH or never sell or all this stuff. I was like, dude, sell it. And so he made some money selling. He got some from ENS and stuff, but he didn't sell that rare one at the time where he could have maximized. So I think he would have been a lot more excited to stay in the space if he did that. But yeah, he's probably not too active anymore.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. Do you find yourself onboarding anybody like just in your like close people in your life? Because the question I would ask you is like, do you start off by telling someone about the space that has no idea about money, or what's your tactic when you're telling someone that's brand new, like on what to say to them?
When I onboard people much differently than I think a lot of people would expect. I don't necessarily reach out to people saying, "Hey, you need to come do this," because I want people to be able to learn on their own. So a lot of my approach is, "Hey, go watch this. Hey, go read this." I'll ask them questions. I have them ask me questions, but once it's clear to me that someone either wants to or doesn't want to put in the work, that's when I change my approach. So if someone really wants to get involved, then I spend more time with them. If I see someone is just looking for quick tips, or hey, how do I flip this or sell that, or things like that just don't really care to learn, that's when I take a more offhand approach where I just don't spend as much time with it. So a lot of the questions I'll ask is, why are you here? What are you looking for? If you made money, what would you do with it? Just little things. Like I ask a lot of questions to try and find people's different taste profiles and why they're here, what they're looking to do, how much time they're looking to spend. Some people are just in it for the money. Some people want to grow. Some people want to do both, obviously, or develop within the space. And some people are developers or want to be marketers or community managers. So it's just a different approach to each person. If someone wants to learn, how to buy ETH, set up a MetaMask and buy an NFT, that's easy. But a lot of people come to me asking, how do I do X, Y, Z within the space? Who do I reach out to? Where do I spend my time? So, I try to help the people that want to be helped.
That's awesome. No, I love it. All right, let's move in. Oh, the last question under inspiration. What's your favorite inspirational movie?
Inspirational movie. Off the top of my head, I'll say The Patriot with Mel Gibson.
Oh, let's go.
That's one of my favorites. He, it's pretty historically accurate in a sense, and he had, he went through a lot. He had his kids killed and captured and family and all that kind of stuff, and he used that as motivation to, obviously it was war and battle, but he used it as motivation to I guess succeed in a way, but to overcome his enemy, whether that's figurative, metaphorically, or you have real enemies. Like he used his negative experiences in his life to become or try to become a better version of himself. And so off the top of my head, I would say The Patriots, probably a good one.
That's awesome. That's a good one, dude. We've never heard it. Let's move into positivity. So huge. We've actually touched a lot on positivity already, so that's dope. So I'll keep it short on positivity because you've talked about it a lot, but the highlights that I make under positivity are like positive mindset. And I think you've touched on that. And it's focusing on the good, but not being delusional, right, to realistic things that happen. But even when bad things happen, you can focus on the good. So tell me a little bit about that. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so I think there's definitely something. I think toxic positivity is definitely a real thing where people can pretend to be positive who aren't necessarily. That's a double-edged sword in that, it can help you become more positive through almost a self-fulfilled prophecy, but it could also just, expose fakeness, I guess. And so toxic positivity is a real thing, but I would say there's something that I actually live my life on. And I've talked about it a few times publicly, but there's a book called The Success Principles by Jack Canfield, the author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. And one of the things that he said in this book, which I read when I was, I think, 15 or 16, and it's taken from ancient Stoic philosophy, and it's about understanding you're not necessarily in control, but being in control of the way you can react to things. So there's a formula called E plus R equals O. It's event plus response equals outcome. So you can't change an event that occurs, but you can change your response to it, which then creates the outcome for you. So a quick example, and this is my favorite example, but when I was in my younger 20s playing, like I said, I play flag football a lot. I actually tore ligaments in my ankle, and at the time I was waitering and bartending, and I had to be on my feet a lot, so it was very distressful. I didn't come from money, so I didn't have a lot of savings and stuff like that. So not being able to work, not being able to play was a very negative time in my life. So what ended up happening is, I knew I couldn't change that event. I just had to be able to build off of it and learn from it. So what I did is the time that I had off, I actually went to a bartending school in the city to be able to, get better jobs at the time where like I can work at a more established restaurant or bar or whatever. And I ended up working in the city, living in the city for a little bit, and then a friend of mine was telling me that they were hiring for a bartender spot closer to my house. So I live in Long Island, which is like 35, 40 minutes from the city, and there was a position opening up closer to my house. So I didn't have a ton of experience bartending yet, but the fact that I had just completed this school and I was starting to work at a spot in the city gave me a little bit of credibility. So they ended up hiring me there. And, through that and through, all the pain that I went through, emotionally and physically from this injury that, took months and months to recover from, and me being so active and someone that always worked 2 to 3 jobs, to not be able to do this was difficult. So it was one of the more negative experiences that I've ever had. And I did my best to grow from that. And what ended up happening is I went to work at this bar that was closer to my house. And through that, I discovered daily fantasy sports, which I talked about earlier. And I started making some money from that and built a business off that. But the biggest thing was that's actually where I met my wife, at that bar. And so if I never tore ligaments in my ankle, which was the event, which is one of the most negative experiences that I've ever been through, I never would have met my wife, and which ended up being the most positive experience that I've ever had. So E plus R equals O is just, a lifestyle for me.
Dude, that is fucking wild. I absolutely love that's literally my favorite part of the whole episode. I tore my ACL when I was in college, and I came back home and connected with my wife, dude. So that's
Nice.
fucking wild that happened to you. I'm literally just so happy. I can't wait to read that book. I'm gonna read the fuck out of that book.
Yeah,
that is dope, man. That was a ton of alpha, like just amazing. You're just what you said, like turning the most negative experience into a good experience that has now changed your life for the best. Let's move into enthusiasm. So, I'm big on enthusiasm. I got energy. Just one life, dude. When I wake up in the morning, I'm ready to just fucking run through walls. Like, I'm so grateful to be alive. It's one of my favorite questions. What are 3 things that you can't get enough of?
I can't get enough of weed. There's just not enough. There's just not enough available that I for me to smoke. I just keep going. I love it. I've been smoking a long time, probably too much. Self-reflectively, I smoke too much for sure. I don't maximize my potential in the way that I wish I could, because I'm just not as productive and motivated as I would be if I didn't. So I'd say that I can't get enough of, I would say, social media, which is also kind of in itself is a little toxic in terms of like prioritizing my time on that. It's just, you really get hits of dopamine from engagement and from being involved. So I would say that that's certainly one. And then another one would be my wife. I can't get enough. We've been since we moved in together, basically like around COVID, I've been working from home. She's been working from home. We were living in a 1-bedroom apartment and then a 2-bedroom house that was kind of small. And so we've never even come close to getting tired of each other. And, I know that time was pretty big for divorces, because people had to spend a lot of time with their significant others and maybe realize they didn't like them as much as they thought they did, and things like that. So to be able to spend as much time as we have together through lockdown and all that, and it made us even closer. So I would say that, that she's such a special person in my life, and I wouldn't have the emotional and personal growth that I have without her, just for the fact that she's a therapist. And so, I have a little life hack in that, some people say that, being with a therapist could be uncomfortable because they're always therapizing you, but I love that she does. And she helps me really self-reflect and become a better person.
That's awesome, dude. That is so, oh my gosh. I love this. This is the best. Listen, what has been the biggest accomplishment of your life?
The biggest accomplishment, obviously the default of having my boy, but I would say, being involved in the Bored Apes, in the community, and NFTs, and the amount of money that I've made has been fantastic, right? Like I can't overlook that. But I would say in terms of accomplishments, it would probably be selling my company Daily Roto Sharks. It wasn't as financially lucrative as NFTs have been, but to be able to create something people found value in and then have someone else want to take it over because they didn't want to let it die. Whereas like I kind of had to, because I was moving into a full-time role at that manufacturing facility, and I wouldn't be able to put in the time necessary to keep it alive. So that's probably one of my biggest accomplishments in, creating something, running it, and selling it, and really being one of my biggest entrepreneurial journeys, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think that's an incredible accomplishment. What is the most exciting moment for you in Web3?
The most exciting moment probably would be the in real life events. Obviously, getting that ApeCoin drop, shit, that was cool. That was really cool. But to meet people in real life, like yourself, we hung out and chill, drank, smoke, just talk bullshit, just meet people that I've seen profile pictures of, or even people like yourself who do videos and you know what they look like. It was just nice to be able to spend time in real life with people and connect and meet members of this community that I look up to, but also people that look up to me, which is something that I don't take lightly. And so I try to, I try to show respect to everybody who shows respect to me, and spend time with people and stuff like that. So I'd say it was really exciting to be a part of all the different in real life events, even though I don't go to as many as I wish I could.
That's awesome, dude. I fucking love it. I love it. I love the IRL events too. It just bringing people together that have similar interests, same vibe. Like it's just good energy. Okay, so we're gonna move into dreams. I fucking love dreams. I'm a big dreamer. Kind of the way that you were talking about in positivity about the, what was it? What was it? What was the formula?
E plus R equals O. So it's event plus response equals outcome.
Dude, so like I like manifestation. That kind of just like reminds me of like that, like the way you turned your negative into a positive and you just grinded. So I'm a big dreamer, but I'm a deliberate optimist. So I used to be a delusional optimist. Now I'm deliberate about my crazy dreams. So I'm going to read for you. I'm going to read to you my dream that I have for my life. And then I want you to read the dream that you have. I'm just going to have you off the cuff. You're going to tell me the dream for your life. So I'm Gentle Tornado. I'm an honest, enthusiastic, and successful man that will inspire others to live their life through happiness.
So I like that. So do you use that as an affirmation that you say to yourself daily?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's
keeps me grounded. You know what I mean? Like we had kind of talked about, like there's so much shit going on. I mean, obviously you're a dad now, like dude, with the kids, like with my wife, like when you truly want to be the best dad or the best husband or whatever you want to be in your life, like you have to have something or multiple things that bring you back to your ground level of what you're really trying, like what you're wanting to do in the world.
Yeah, no, that's great. Affirmations are important. I don't do them enough as I should. But I would say for me, like, I just want to be the best person that I can be, like the best version of myself. And that doesn't mean emulating somebody else. It just means like trying to grow what I can within my own bounds, right? And not try to compare myself too much to other people, but grow personally and professionally and teach and educate those along the way. As I learn things, I like teaching people things. And so it makes it puts me in a position to understand the information better, knowing that I'd like to explain it to others. So I do deeper research because of that. And so, yeah, just trying to be a better person and help other people become better people is probably what I would say I'm mostly focused on.
Yeah, no, that's incredible, man. I think you're a really thoughtful person, and I think that goes a long way. You're very like deliberate about when you do research, and you're very thoughtful. And so, personally, I appreciate that. I think that you're on a good mission. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up. I know we're on a deadline, so I'm gonna share my screen. I'm gonna read to you my favorite poem. It's called "The Dash." 1 second. Okay, it's called "The Dash" by Linda Ellis. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of birth and spoke of the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time they spent alive on earth, and now only those who love them know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So you think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. Time to be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read, with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you lived your dash?
It's dope.
How do you feel about it?
I love that. It reminds me of like some of my life principles being something that I take from, like I mentioned earlier, Stoic philosophy. I think it's really great. And if you're not familiar with that, you definitely should look it up. If you've ever heard of Marcus Aurelius, a lot of Roman characters and Greek characters were into that. And, for me, what I get most from that is memento mori. It's a saying that means something along the lines of we all die, like we all die someday. So try to live your life knowing that it could end at any moment, that people in your life could be taken at any moment. And so, this is something that I reflect on. I don't maximize it to the way that I wish I did. And that's something that I'm always constantly striving for. But yeah, memento mori, we all die someday. So, you want to be not just proud of what you've done, but aware that it could end at any time.
I love that, dude. I love that. This has been such a banger episode. So the way we wrap it up is that you get to leave the audience with one final thought, could be anything, and then a final question.
All right. So let's see. A final thought, again, would be just try to be a better version of yourself today than you were yesterday. Don't try to be like someone else. You could use people as reference. You can try to emulate certain principles that other people follow, but be a better version of yourself, not of someone else. And then leave with a question, you said. I guess a question would be like, what are you proud of? Like, what have you done that you're proud of? And when people ask you who you are, what your identity is, do you have an example that you can point to that says like, this is who I am, this is what I've done, and this is what I am proud of? So yeah, my question would be, what are you proud of?
Let's go. I love it. I absolutely love it, man. This has been Hyped Happy Hour episode 22 with the man himself, Benjamin, absolute legend. I fucking love this guy. Thanks for coming, Ben. Thank you for everybody that's listened. If you like this, share it with anybody that you think it can benefit. Have the best fucking life ever.
Thanks, my man.